Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How you doing? It's Russ here from Poker's Corner. Early Sunday morning. Yes, I am still the voice of hardcore boxing, by the way, just letting you know, even though I'm not in my office today. Before we start and I introduce my next guest, I just want to say a big shout out to Ian Snowden, birthday today, and Dave Hall from Edlington. I've known these two since I was 9-year-old. I've known Dave since I was 6 and Snod since I was about 9. He's an ambassador at Everton Football Club. Hope you well, Ian. Keep watching Poker's Corner and get subscribed to members area, Snod. Right. Today I'm joined by the voice of hardcore pay-per-view, all the way from Walsall. You've got it. It's Dale Nichols. He's back with a vengeance. How are you doing, Dale?
The Mackie's back.
I'm glad you've got rid of that tash and that you've got that hair sorter, because last time you come on here, you look like Adolf.
Rough few months in lockdown. Rough few months.
Not where it were.
Yeah.
What have you been up to then?
Not much really. Not much, just plodding on as you usually do. Getting pissed off with the sport of boxing as we all do as well. Yeah, just cracking on as usual. Football season started up again yesterday, so yeah, pretty much my weekend in a nutshell.
Yeah, I get like that myself, Dale. I wake up every single day and I feel like just deleting my YouTube account, and then I think of a reason not to. But one day I might just get up and say, you know what? Enough is enough. For example, before we cover Dennis Hobson's show in Malta and Eddie's show at Matchroom Square Garden last night, I want to just point out that David A and Joe Fournier are little con men. What do you think to that?
Yeah, it's all a bit sketchy for me. There's photos circulating all over Twitter of the two of them hugging each other, and it's days before this announcement out of the blue. I can imagine that they've all been sat round having a supper, ain't they, wherever they are, and they're probably just all conspired together. I know how we can make a few quid. All these YouTubers are at it. De La Hoya's coming out of retirement, as well as a few others. There's a few bobbing this for us. Why don't we just, manufacture some sort of fake rivalry, and we can easily make a few quid out of this. We all know what David A's like with money, don't we?
Yeah. Well, David A is not exactly the sharpest tool in box with money. Like, he spends it like willy-nilly. He's a big liver and he likes the finer things in life, but to live that lifestyle that he leads, you need money, and he blasts through money very quickly. But I did say for the last few years, look, David A will come back, first opportunity, stronger, faster, quicker than a speeding bullet. I'm eating kangaroo meat now. I've got experience and I'm doing yoga. Look, they fucking lie, don't they? These people tell more lies than Walter Mitty. I thought John Fury were bad. Big fighting man that don't fight on the hard road. I thought he were bad, but I mean, even pop, pop, bang don't tell lies like these, does he?
It's off the scale, isn't it, really? There's a bit of a saying, isn't there? It's champagne lifestyle, lemonade wage. And that's pretty much what it is, isn't it, with David A? Because he just, like you said, just blows through money. I mean, how much did he fetch off the two Bellew fights? And that was only 3 years ago, was it?
I'll tell you a story.
4 years ago.
Take David A years ago. He bought a Merc, a white one, Brabus, big V8 thing, 80 grand. He sold it for 40. Hardly had any miles on the clock. He just bought a roller, only 200 grand. That's probably worth 100 now. It's he's not exactly Mr. Business Decision, if you know what I mean. He just, because he's had it that easy for 20 years, people saying yes to him, and he's had his own way with money. He's got a rude awakening, because you can't keep going to the well. Well, I suppose you can look at Mike Tyson. He's just had a big payday, hasn't he? But I don't know. I think David A will be punching for pay till he's 50, me, at this rate. I do, honestly. I mean, he's 41 in October. You know.
Yeah, he always said, didn't he? I'll retire on by my 31st birthday. I remember he didn't renew his license and all that after the Vladimir fight. But do you know what? I've had a bit of thought about all this over the past 18 months, 2 years, and the way that sort of ex-pros have been sort of coming back and YouTubers have wormed their way into the sport. Boxing, for me, has only got itself to blame. The reason these have had the opportunity to sort of get back in amongst the mix and they've got the traction that they have behind them, it's because at the top of the sport, we're not getting the big fights as fans anyway.
No, we're not getting Joshua Fury, Joshua Wilder 3. That all looks a bit shaky, doesn't it? On shaky legs, doesn't it? The trilogy, Wilder and Tyson Fury. So, because we're not getting them fights, and because Tyson Fury didn't exactly cover himself in glory, putting tweets out and messages and videos saying Joshua fight's done, this and that, and it's all signed and sealed and all that. And it's like just kicking sand in the fans' faces. And the fans, I think, personally, have just had enough now, haven't they?
Yeah, like that's just one example. I think it's Fury Joshua because it's obviously involving two Brits, but there's plenty of others across the sport. I mean, you've only got to look at the lightweight scene where you've got, you know, fighters like Devin Haney. Obviously, you've had Lomachenko, Lopez, you know, Tank Davis. And other than obviously Lopez and Lomachenko fought each other, but they're not rematching. We haven't had any of them fighting each other. Crawford Spence doesn't even look like it's ever going to happen. We're struggling to get Caleb Plant against Canelo across the line. There's plenty across most of the weight divisions where big fights just aren't happening. And I think that's where the boxing super series was a bit of a breath of fresh air on the first series of it, is because the majority of fights got made. Obviously cruiserweight was just brilliant because you had all the champions in there, all the top fighters in there. But yeah, the sport's just completely fell to its knees over the past 2 years, and I can't even tell you the last big fight that you know that really happened. I mean, obviously anything Canelo touches is a big fight anyway, but Canelo Smith, Canelo Saunders, yeah, there were unifications, but there were ultimately mismatches, and it proved to be the case. I just cannot remember the last big fight that happened. I just can't.
We're being shortchanged, aren't we, at the moment, boxing fans? And it's a worry for the sport. Looking at it at the moment, it's a big, big worry. Joe Fournier and David A, they're both 40-odd-year-old, and they're taking a fight at 4 weeks' notice and laughing and joking and all this, and it's all a bit too staged for me. You know, that bit like the Bellew Hay thing, that were all staged, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I've looked down the weights and that this morning. I'm looking at the champions, and you've only got nine Ring Magazine champions in circulation at the minute. So
how many weight divisions that, Dale? 18.
Yeah, so that gives you an indication of, you know, traditionally only number one versus number two would be able to fight for a vacant belt. So that tells you how many top fights are being made in the sport at the minute.
Well, they're not, are they?
They're just not happening. They're not happening. It's a massive shame. And like I say, that's probably one of the main reasons why these YouTubers, why these ex-pros have been able to sort of worm their way into the sport or back into the sport. And it's because they're going to get the publicity whilst at the top of the sport, nothing's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worrying times, isn't it, for boxing fans, because UFC's risen up now, hasn't it? And then we've got these YouTubers coming in doing damage to boxing. And it's very, very worrying. And I think Terry Chappendama called it right over there on my channel, and he said there's going to be like a recession, you know, for a few years, a dip, until boxing sorts itself out. Do you agree with that?
100%. For anyone that follows me on Twitter, I think the last time I came on as well, I did have a surge of followers. So thanks for everyone who did, you know, jump on. I will get ready to following you back at some point. I'm just terrible with stuff like that. But I put a little bit of something together on the WBA, and this was only back in May, so it's not going to be completely accurate now. But across the 17 weight divisions in boxing, there is 90. The word there was in the time of May. There was 96 active world title belts.
What? But what is that? The WBA?
No, there was 96 in total. The WBA can account for 44 champions across 17 weight classes. So that's 46% of world champions with WBA belts. 46%. So that's 44 out of 96 belts. I mean, everybody wants one champion, don't they, per division. That's the ideal way. We're reaching. It's never going to happen. There's too much money in the sport. It is unfortunately never going to happen. But when you're rocking around with 44 champions across 17 weight divisions, something in itself there is wrong. Something in itself. And another thing about the WBA as well, whilst we're at it, and that's the state of their women's bantamweight title that Shannon Courtney is now rocking around with, claiming she's a world champion. And this is the lady who's only beat two opponents with a winning record, one of them being Ebony Bridges, who'd only had 5 fights at the time. So let's wind the clock back to November last year. So originally this was supposed to be Ebony Bridges versus Rachel Ball for the vacant title back in November. After COVID restrictions, Bridges couldn't come over. So Ball on fight week had to fight somebody else, and the WBA wouldn't sanction him. So then back in April, the vacant title was still available. Ball was supposed to fight Courtney then. Courtney was completely unranked with the WBA, but they somehow managed to get her in for a vacant title shot against Rachel Ball. Then Ball pulled out with long COVID, so the belt then was on the line for Courtney against Bridges. How can a vacant belt be available for 3 different fights? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Wasn't one of them ranked 8 and the other one ranked 9?
I don't know where Courtney was unranked the whole time, and then I think when that fight got announced, she popped up in the rankings somewhere. They probably just found a slot for her in there somewhere. But anyway, Shannon Courtney is now fighting Jamie Mitchell, and that's not the guy out of EastEnders. That is Jamie Mitchell, the fighter who has never beaten an opponent with a winning record. She has never beat an opponent with a winning record.
She's in a world title fight.
And she's fighting Shannon Courtney for a world title.
Oh, getting painful, that, isn't it?
When Shannon Courtney sits there lecturing fighters about how fighters like Katie Taylor have paved the way, like, don't rock around calling yourself a world champion, and then in a different sentence say Katie Taylor's paved the way for fighters like me and you.
Jane Couch paved the way for them all.
It's just ignorant.
She has to say that, though, because Katie Taylor's DAZN and Matchroom, isn't she? So they have to be seen to be saying right things, don't they? It's all staged, mate. They're told what to say.
It's embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. But you know, she's got the best trainer in the game, and so she'll be rising to the top.
Who's a trainer?
Isn't it Adam Booth? Or am I dreaming?
I thought you were manager. Adam Booth! Go to Adam Booth, the Dark Lord. He's the best.
But yeah, that's enough about her anyway. I just want to put that one to bed. I can't stand the person.
So basically, Dale, there's how many champions with WBA? So there's 17 weight divisions, but they haven't got a champion yet for Bridgerweight. So technically, there's 18 divisions if you count Bridger, but they haven't got that sorted yet, have they? A vacant Bridger belt. But so out them other 17, there's how many? 40 what?
This was in May. So it's not going to be 100% accurate. But back in May, there was 44 WBA champions. 44
champions for 17 weight divisions. So are you confused? Because I am. The WBA, the Gilberto Mendoza, the gentleman that just keeps on giving. Right?
Unbelievable. But yeah, you mentioned DAZN as well there, Porker. What have you thought to the production, the broadcast so far?
Load of rubbish. I mean, I think it's painful to watch because it looks like they're not polished enough, are they yet? You know, there's a long way to go in there. And Tony Bellew keeps repeating the same things all the time. He's obviously not comfortable with a microphone in his hand. When he's having to carry it, he's in like the Johnny Nelson role, and he looks like he's struggling, doesn't he, Tony? But he's better as an anchor, Tony Bellew, when the cameras turn to him and they ask him what he thought about it. But he's trying to be like presenter type, isn't he? Do you think?
Yeah, personal agendas aside, he's not that bad on the mic. I can tolerate him. He's okay. When he's not sitting there cheerleading, or he gets out of his, his cheerleading mentality, when he gives a neutral view on boxing, I don't actually mind listening to Tony Bellew. But all I've seen so far from DAZN is probably Maya Jama and a fancy font with some full stops and overpriced tickets. That doesn't warrant game changed for me.
What do you think about the £800 tickets then?
For the 3 fights that we've had, obviously, we'll give them a pass on the first one because it was supposed to be Conor Ben against Granados. Ended up being Lee Wood against Zhu Can, or Kanzu, whatever you want to call him. Second week, we had Jazza Dickens against Kid Galahad, which, okay, it was for a vacant belt, but I mean, for that to be topping a bill, really, you are pushing it a little bit. And then obviously on the third week, last night, we had Boatsi fighting. Harsh to say journeyman, but whatever you would say, halfway between journeyman and gatekeeper.
He took his time getting him out there, didn't he?
Well, he was bouncing him around the ring in round 6, weren't he? And he couldn't put his foot on the gas. Had to take a few rounds off. But I personally didn't mind Boatsi's performance last night. I think he would have got a lot out of it. But it's only an opponent he should be beating and he should be stopping.
Yeah. What do you think to Eddie Hearn's airpiece now that he's had his 10 sessions at the air transplant place? Do you reckon it looks well?
Oh, yeah.
Do you reckon he went to Maury's wigs?
Hills is losing the plot.
Did you see the Eddie Hearn interview where he said he'd come out of retirement to have a fight, but he wouldn't want to do it for money. He'd want to do it for charity. What do you think? What's your take on all that, Dale? Eddie gloving up and that. Back on the hard road.
I thought charity started at home, for.
Hey?
I thought charity started at home. Well, we'd all love to see Hills back in the ring, wouldn't we? 4-0. 4-0 Iceman from Billericay.
Eddie Hills, the 4-0 Iceman from Billericay, free by way of.
Coming back to save boxing.
Hashtag game changed. Right. So all Eddie's won last night. He went 7-0 last night. All home fighters won. Pretty easy to pick one. I mean, I tell everybody all the time, put an accumulator bet on Eddie Hearn shows and just pick all them on left-hand side on Boxrec. It's not rocket science, is it? Do you feel that DAZN have not got no quality control? Because somebody's signing off on these fights, aren't they? He's supposed to be hashtag game change, supposed to have $1 billion and all this. And what's gone on here, do you think?
I think only time's going to tell, really, in the quality of the matchmaking. This is only their first batch of shows, and I think when obviously it was all planned, this fight camp and stuff, we were still in like a partial lockdown, so he was still restricted on capacities. I think he was only allowed 1,000 anyway. So I'll give him a bit of a pass on the fight camp. That the budget might not have been there for them, but moving forward now, the rest of the year, the Leeds card now has been bumped up a little bit with Conor Ben going on it. So I think that's an okay show now for me. The Liverpool card, there's some good fights on that. I am looking forward to that card. Although I think Smith will just run over Fowler, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's already said himself, hot knife through butter. I wouldn't disagree, to be honest. I think they're levels apart, really. I think one's a European level fighter and one's barely a British level fighter. But yeah, I think moving forward for the rest of the year for DAZN, as with Sky, is I think that there's going to be an interesting dynamic, and that is the Joshua conundrum. Wherever Joshua decides to go is going to be massive for whichever network.
Yeah, I've got a sneaky feeling that Joshua just might stay with Sky. I've just got that sneaky feeling. He strikes me as somebody that plays it pretty safe. And I just get the impression now Eddie's out of the way that they just might nip in and get that and get something going with Sky. And he might sign some Olympians, Joshua, as well. I won't put it past him signing Joe Joyce. Not Joe. I keep calling him Joe Joyce. Fraser Clark. I know, yeah. I won't put it past Joshua signing him. He'll have seen Fraser training up at EIS for the last 10 years because he's been there a long time. And I just think that I think he'll get him signed to 258. And I think Sky will be in a decent position. What do you think about the goings on at Sky at the moment? It looks like Bean's out at pitcher, doesn't it? And Nelson.
Well, B, obviously, he's been sort of dabbling in the darts, hasn't he, over the past 12 months? Horse racing the other night, yeah. So there's just seemed to sort of be pushing him into other sports where they can really just to sort of keep him active, really, I suppose. But in terms of the boxing itself, it doesn't look as though they've got anything UK lined up in the next few months. So yeah, I think all them at Sky, like, you know, Jug Ears and Macklin and Nelson, they're just they're clinging on to anything they can at the minute. They'll be doing a truth tour before you know it.
Johnny Nelson, the Truth Tour, Gangland Enforcer Part 2. On the hard road. Pop, pop, bang. Pop, pop, bang. Give me them belts back that you stole, you bum. End of.
I did see something online the other day. I don't know how true it was, but Macklin had, I don't know how true it was, but apparently Macklin was in talks with BT.
Oh, Matthew Macklin. He was a good pundit when he first started doing it, Macklin. I thought Bellew was as well, but what happens is they revert into company man mode, don't they? Once they join the cult of Bean, they join the Bean Masons, don't they? Or whatever cult they're in, and they become comfortable. Whereas Frotch, he's like the Roy Keane in here boxing, and he's not bothered, is he? Paulie Malignaggi, same, innit? But just go through last night's 7 Eddie fights then, Dale, and let's just give an opinion on that before we rinse Dennis Hobson's Malta show.
Well, let's start at the top of the card. Obviously, Joshua Buatsi, like, you know, pretty much already said he's fought a guy that's okay, not someone I realistically want to see him in with at this moment in time. Shut that door, shut him up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, is that a Yorkshire Terrier, Dale?
That's it, yeah, Yorkshire Terrier.
It sounded like you've got some big brute in there, man.
But yeah, it's a guy I realistically wouldn't want to be seeing him in with at this stage of his career, but it is what it is. He's in there with him and he's beat a guy he should have beat. I want to see Buatsi in a meaningful fight next time out now. I think the thing is with Buatsi, I think they've struggled to plot a route for him. I think that's where he's come a little bit unstuck over the past year or two. He's traditionally with an Eddie Hearn fighter, he'll sort of either target a weak champion or a regular belt or a vacant belt. And I think that's never really opened up for Buatsi yet in obviously at light heavy. You've had established champions at the top like Beterbiev and Bivol, and his name escapes me now, but the Ukrainian guy as well.
Well, this is how I look at it, right? Joshua Buatsi, he hasn't got much of a profile. We're talking about a kid here from Olympics, aren't we, right? He hasn't got much of a profile. He's highly ranked in world. But yet, we see more interviews with Eddie Hearn talking about crisps than we do with Joshua Buatsi talking about boxing. And that's Eddie's motto, isn't it? Don't let the fighter be bigger than the promoter. But I just feel that he hasn't been promoted correctly, but he's not engaging, is he? He's very quiet, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And like I say, I think that they've struggled to plot a route for him, and that's kind of why he's been held back a little bit. But running down the card, you got Michael Mackinson against Runovsky. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his first name, but obviously he was 20-0 in there against a 19-1 guy. Let
me just add this in, Dale, first. Did you see the hula hooping from Tony Bellew around Virgil Hunter? Now, let me just point this out to all you Virgil Hunter bumlicks. Virgil Hunter has had loads of boxers through his gym and through his hands, basically. He's only had Andre Ward as a world champion. So all this about trainer, champions and all that, the one champion. All right? People start messing about with statistics like Tony Bellew and chatting shit, and they forget. It's like Tony Bellew, he calls himself a champion, doesn't he? But he never beat a champion. British, Commonwealth, European, and world title were all vacant what you won, Tony Bellew. So I'd let you know. Go on. So Buatsi won. Who up next fight? Who up next one down on card?
Belotti against Raymond Ford as well.
Who against Raymond Ford?
Reece Belotti against Raymond Ford.
Didn't McKinson fight last night though as well, didn't he? He won, didn't he?
Yeah, he won as well. I just want to talk about the Cash Farouk fight actually, because I was really intrigued by this. Obviously, his opponent, like, is this like 85% deaf, something like that. So it was a really interesting story. I thought that Farouk, I think that last time out, I think he shipped a lot more punishment than he needed to. I thought he boxed quite clever last night, and I was impressed with his performance. I'd love to see him and McGregor go at it again at some point.
Yeah. What about Reece Belotti, Joe Cordina?
Cordina, I mean, it was an impressive finish, wasn't it, from Cordina. He's never been a notable puncher. Probably another one that you'd say now needs to really kick on. He's had a dull couple of years, really, when there's a lot of promise there early doors. Again, I want to see him. I don't want to see him at this level anymore now. I want to see him step up, and I want to see him fight for a European title next time out. He's already gone and won a Commonwealth and a British title. So I want to see him fight for a European title, or at least operating in and around that level next time. He's got to step up. Zelfa Barrett, complete waste of time that fight last night. He's fighting a guy that Scott Quick beat 5 years ago. Complete waste of time that fight. And I think one of Mark's guys was out first, Hopey Price.
Do you feel that Eddie's new matchmaker, Christian Church, is not delivering for him?
It's a tough one at the minute because I don't know the way of the world. I don't know how it's working with travel restrictions and fighters being able to come over. But what we saw last night, I can only comment on, was a bit of drivel for me.
All right, then. Well, moving on from the adventures of Tintin, Dennis Hobson's Malta show.
Oh God. Now I've had to research for this morning because I have not been subject to any footage at all from this show, so I am going to be totally winging it based on records here. And we've got 4 fighters on the B side here that have all got losing records, barring one that was 15 and 14.
And all the ones on the left-hand side have all got winning records and they all won.
Yeah.
So are they 50-50 fights, what Dennis is putting on?
Records would suggest not. No, they'd suggest walkovers.
Well, not rinse Dennis totally, because if you go onto your box rec day, you'll click on event, you'll see in 2 weeks he's got a show in Sheffield, hasn't he? Which is, it's got a few fights on that are quite interesting. There's a couple of 50-50s on it.
It's the one with Tommy Frank.
Tommy Frank's fighting Matt Windle now, isn't he, for British? Yeah. Now they were fighting Kyle Usyk, but Dennis, Glyn Rhodes, and Tommy Frank were all filling the nappies about putting him in with Kyle Usyk because Kyle's beat Tommy 3 times in amateurs. So we have to give Dennis credit for getting Tommy a British title fight, because that fight there is a gift for Tommy Frank. If he loses that, Dennis will drop him. If he wins that, they'll kick on. Now he's got him that fight. Now, if you look at Tommy Frank's last 2 fights, he got beat, didn't he? Right. So how's he fighting for a British title coming off not 1, but 2 losses? Technically, he's had 4 losses on trot, but he had 2 hometown decisions. So to come off 2 losses and get a British title, the board are on the back foot, because Robert Smith won't do Dennis any favours at all. Never has, never will. He doesn't like Dennis, and the feelings mutual between Dennis and him. But the board, look how weak they are now, where they're giving Dennis a British title fight for his fighter who's coming off 2 losses. What do you think to that? They're not sticking to the rules that they preach, are they? The board, about coming off losses for British titles. You've got to get a win, haven't you? And he's coming off 2 losses. So you tell me what's going on. The board are on the back foot. What do you think, Dale?
I think that stinks, to be honest with you. I think it absolutely stinks. But it's not the fighter's fault, so good luck to Tommy Frank.
Yeah, Tommy Frank,
winning a British title is a massive achievement.
He'll be a British champion in 2 weeks. Matt Windle's tailor-made for him. And how many fights has Matt Windle? What is he, 6-3 or something?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. 6-3, 1 draw as well.
6-3-1. So basically, that's a gift for experience Tommy's got. He's had that dropped on his lap. It's not like Clinton Woods, where he had to go fight Crawford Ashley and got his nose broken, all busted up. That's a gift for Tommy Frank. So Tommy Frank, you need to send Dennis a thank you card. Send him a bottle of red and a packet of balsamic vinegar kettle crisps. He likes them, Dennis. On that other card, they've got Anthony Tomlinson's in a 50-50 as well. And Kane Salvin's in a 50-50 with Michael Gomez Jr., isn't he?
Is that the Michael Gomez
Jr.? Junior, his son. His son, yeah. And return of the White Rhino. The White Rhino's back. He's fighting somebody with a losing record, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 7-13. We've got down here Andrea Pesca.
Where's he from?
Let's have a look.
Latvia.
Probably, yeah. Probably some sort of Latvian plumber or Romania or something like that.
Some Hungarian waiter. I don't really understand the Dave Allen thing now, because he tried to get back in with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn said thank you, but no thank you. Right. So he then said that prior to that, that dog's not going to savage you, Dale, is it? Prior to that, Dave Allen said his health weren't too good. There were a few things happening with his head and this and that and blah, 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 and he'd been knocked about. And I don't really understand the comeback at all, but if I were Dennis, this is how I'd play it. Dennis is going to need somebody to carry these shows. Dave's got a bit of a following, hasn't he? I'd put Dave Allen in with a guy with a losing record 3 times a year. That's what I'd do now, because for next 2 years, make him learn his craft and help carry your shows, because Dave's never going to win a European title, is he, or a British title, is he really? We know that, don't we? Unless it's a gift, unless he gets a gift for a British title, like Tommy Frank. But he's engaging and he's a character. So I think that Dennis is probably doing the right thing, putting him in with stiffs, because they don't want him to get beat, do they? Because it might scare him off. But if he can keep churning him out, get him to fight for buttons, and he'll do it. But Dave might be thinking, I'll put my Senate shot window here to get back on to get back with Matchroom, because he's saying he's training now and taking it serious. But he's the boy that cried wolf, isn't he? We've heard it all before, haven't we? All this. But he just might be taking it serious now, because it looks like Matchroom aren't interested in him. And once you've been there, it's like going to Man United, isn't it? And then leaving. You don't want to go play for Port Vale, do you?
He's got the taste of the glitz and glamour now, innit? The high life, topping a bit on a Sky show on a Saturday night, fight night against Big Daddy Brown. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Getting him on a show a few times a year, sort of try and drive some interest towards it. A little bit like how Frank Warren and Nathan Heaney, a little bit, probably on a different scale. But like Nathan Heaney's clearly put on a few of the Warren cards to sell tickets, because he sells a lot of them as well. Like that Birmingham show, I think he's done 2,000 tickets on his own. To someone like Frank, Nathan Heaney, the lad from Stoke.
2,000 tickets.
He's done 2,000 tickets, yeah, for the Birmingham show. So for Frank, really, he's probably barely done that through general sale himself. So to have someone like that, it's just an absolute gift for him, isn't it? Really. So I think that's pretty.
Can't even fill your call.
So yeah, like you say, gets him on the show a few times a year, puts some eyes on the show, because people will tune in, whether you like it or not. People will tune in just to watch Dave Allen.
Can I get your opinion on the Gad's love affair that he's having in his head with Ebony Bridges? What do you think about it? Are we seeing a man here unfold like an onion in front of us?
The tripe that I've seen this week, this Ring Magazine double page spread, since when has a boxing journalist been bigger than fighters themselves? And in his little mind, he thinks he's some sort of A-star celebrity on the boxing circuit. The rise of the Gad over the past
The rise of the Gad.
The rise of
like it's Terminator.
The rise of the Gad has just been frightening. He's gone from being a guy that sort of pops up on a couple of IFL videos to now being the centre of attention on TalkSport. He's got his own podcast on the go. He's interviewing fighters, and he's got a bit of a following as well, which I find completely bizarre. The Gad for me is a weapon. And he's a weapon that we need to be careful of as well, because he's spouting nonsense to casual monks that Ebony Bridges is some sort of Muhammad Ali for the women's game.
Could you imagine being on an aeroplane, sat at the back, and at one side you've got Big John Fury, and at the other side you've got the Gad, and you're on a 5-hour flight? Could you imagine that? That'd be painful, wouldn't it?
I mean, what else was it when he was on TalkSport a couple of months ago, and he was bigging up the YouTube boxing scene, saying that what they're doing is brilliant for the sport, and Jake Paul, what he's doing is bringing new viewers in, and it's brilliant. And
not bringing where are they all, these viewers then? Where are they?
He never had a problem with McGregor fighting Mayweather. I mean, he's a man who is one of the very few who makes a living out of journalism in this sport, and he's showing himself up as far as I'm concerned. He was out in Tokyo for the games. We've had our most successful Olympics for God knows how many years. You know, we've got 6 medalists, which I've never lived to see in my lifetime. And yet, instead of getting out there and doing double page spreads on them, and pushing them himself, getting them on his podcasts, giving them airtime to build their profile, he's taking to social media and saying that Ebony Bridges, a fucking 6-fight novice, is the Muhammad Ali of the women's game.
Unbelievable, isn't it, mate? Unbelievable. He just needs to hand his computer in. That's what he needs to do. Gad, come see me. What else do you want to talk about, Dale?
Joshua Usyk, the one that has
Joshua Usyk. Well, I've got Usyk to beat Joshua. I've got him. I've got Usyk to stop him late on. That's what I've got, mate. I just think he's just too much of a slickster. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I hope Usyk does him anyway. But we're gonna see, aren't we? But you got. You're torn, aren't you? Do you know when when I tell people that, Dale, before you pick who you're gonna win, who you want to win, Usyk or Joshua, let me just say this to you and all you hardcore boxing fans watching this, right? Does Usyk beat Andy Ruiz?
Yeah, yes. So I thought you were just asking.
Does Usyk?
I think so.
Yeah, right. Well, Andy Ruiz knocked Joshua out, so has Usyk got a chance of beating Joshua? Forget all this, size and all that bollocks. We're talking about an Olympic gold medal heavyweight. Joshua was a super heavyweight in the same Olympics, wasn't he? So, and look what he did to Tony Bellew, who was 6'3.5". Look how he dealt with Tony Bellew. He put him into orbit.
Tony Bellew's never been knocked out. He said it himself live on TV.
Tony Bellew, listen, mate. Oval Mackenzie hit Tony Bellew that hard. When he hit deck, another thud hit his head and it woke him up. He put him into orbit for a few seconds. Oval Mackenzie, mate. Bellew. But no, I just feel that Usyk beats Joshua. And like I've just said there, does he beat Ruiz? Yeah. And Ruiz has got a win over Joshua. So it's not a foregone conclusion, but my money's on Usyk because the odds are looking good. And I've just got a feeling that all this going your mandatory routes and all that, it's just going to mess the Fury fight up because they're putting too many obstacles in front of fights. And you know what happens when that happens, Dale? The fights we want never happen, do they? And I just think they're going to come a cropper with it. And then we're going to have the rematch. And then we're all going to say, oh, God, a rematch. Oh, bloody hell, it's a mandatory. How can we have rematches when it were a mandatory? What's the point of a mandatory? Do you see where I'm coming from, don't you, with this, where I'm going with it? It's just how I feel. I just think Usyk beats him. Mickey Fio don't agree. And he wants a 200 quid bet on it. So I said, all right, then let's have 200 quid on it, mate. I'll have Usyk. You can have Big Dossa Femi. The big Doss.
One thing I would say is that if Joshua does win, it'll be Joshua's best win.
Yeah, it will be. It will be, yeah. It will be because it's a live opponent he's in with. It's not Povetkin. It's not any of them other ones. Vladimir, 42-year-old, Povetkin, whatever, 40-year-old or whatever, he was 39 then at the time, wasn't he? You know, Vladimir in his 42nd year. These are old men. Pulev were 40. Old men. Old men. It's like Dillian Whyte, the can man. Anybody who wants it can get it as long as they're shot to bits and over 40. Well, look who Dillian Whyte calls out. Dillian Whyte's the only guy that calls out the guy that lost to Ruiz. Calling out Chris Ariola has just been beat by Ruiz. What sort of planet are these people on? Dillian Whyte, come see me. Do you know what I mean? Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
Anyway, I haven't given my prediction. I'm going to say that Joshua will squeak it on points.
With a iffy decision?
Possibly. I think he'll squeak home.
Will Eddie Hearn come out and say, oh, I could see a 1-1-5, 1-1-3, but I can also see a 1-1-3, 1-1-5. Could have gone either way, very close. Maybe one round in it. If it's got a round, other way it's a draw, but we can do it again. You know, giving it all that crap.
Well, one of the things that we mentioned earlier, and that was about the whole dynamic with Sky coming into the question, because it's Joshua's last fight, isn't it, on the Sky deal? Now they completely shunned Hills, didn't they, after the Newcastle card, because it was the last Matchroom card. how much exposure are they going to realistically post-fight going to be giving? Say for example, Joshua wins. Are they going to be getting Hills on camera with Joshua, asking him what's next and what's down the road, with a view to the fact that they might not even be broadcasting it?
Yeah, that's true. That it's going to be very, very interesting. I think the next 6 weeks in boxing is going to be the most interesting we've ever seen in it. You know, for changes, everybody's like waiting to see the Sky thing and see where Joshua goes. I personally think he stays with Sky. I think he plays it safe. I think going with DAZN is going into the unknown. Eddie Hearn's not bothered because he'll always think in his head that he can get back on Sky. You see where I'm coming from? Because they're not going to go out and set their own TV channel up, I don't think. I think they like to use other people's money, don't they? Which done everybody in boxing. But you never know. He could end up working on Fight Zone with Dennis Hobson, couldn't he? Eddie and Dennis. What do you reckon? Dennis would be up for that, wouldn't he? Hey.
Of course he would.
Dave Allen's there. He's a pundit now at Fight Zone, established pundit. Yeah, it's going to be interesting moving forward to see what happens, because if DAZN fall in the next 2 years, where does that leave Eduardo?
Like I say, I think a lot hinges on the Joshua, on which side Joshua decides to go. I think we're pretty set for Whyte with DAZN, and that's pretty nailed on. So in terms of pay-per-view, because Sky have been, they've been raking them out in there over the past like 4 or 5 years. So to all of a sudden go to none at all. I mean, I know they've got this long-term deal with Top Rank and Boxer on the UK scene, but how much are they really going to be invested in the sport if they haven't got that pin-up guy, that Joshua twice a year, 3 times a year on pay-per-view? It's going to be a tough sell, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to exciting times ahead, Dale. This is why we love this sport so much, Matt. Welcome to the Blue Ribbon Division. It's back. It's like it's never been away.
Fantastic. But yeah, the demise of Sky has been beautiful to watch, because we've all been sick of the usual suspects over the past few years, spouting the shit, spinning the narratives.
Yeah, it's going to be very, 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 very interesting to see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to see them all at food banks, don't I? Bean, Johnny Nelson, Spencer Oliver. I want to see all of you queuing at food banks, all of you. If not, come see me. I'll give you some pot noodles. But what do you see happening with Anna Woolhouse then? Do you think she's history now?
Not sure, because originally, I think the thing with Woolhouse is she used to be a Sky Sports news presenter. Anna Woolhouse did. She came through the Sky setup. So she was on the desk, and when they wanted a lead anchor to be a female at Sky, the first time they did it was Kell Brook against Golovkin, and it was Kate Abdo. She was the one who led that, but then she left Sky and went to ESPN in America. So that left a bit of a void there then for a female lead. So they shoehorned in Anna Woolhouse to that role. So she became the lead presenter for Sky Sports Boxing off that. At first, she had quite poor knowledge, a little bit like Maya Jama, really, but she did grow into it, I think, a little bit as time went on. She made a few mistakes, I think most notably the Katie Taylor being part of Team GB. Like, that was just embarrassing, weren't it? But other than that, I think she did a decent job as time went on. But yeah, I think that they'd possibly just find a job for her back behind the desk if Sky Boxing went to shit.
Jamie Redknapp was stirring the porridge, wasn't he? Barney Francis at Sky.
Jamie Redknapp, he's played
the only person who's not been hanging out of the back of us, Richard Keys. Smash it.
Richard Keys.
All right, then moving on from Anna Woolhouse. Kell Brook Amir Khan. Amir Khan's not won a world title fight for over 10 years. Kell Brook's 5-6 year in wilderness. What does it say about us as boxing fans where we can invest time yet again in this saga now?
I don't want to see it. I just don't want to see it.
What do you think about DAZN putting the bid in for it and then Sky putting a bigger bid in? Do you think that will have put Eddie's nose out of joint?
I think so, yeah. Definitely. I think they know what they're doing as well between the pair of them, to be honest. I think that with Sky sort of being a bit freelance at the minute, it almost opens up the door for fighters to sort of be getting in there and say, well, there's an opportunity here. We can get on the Sky pay-per-view platform. People will pay to see Brook Khan. Whether we like it or not, it'll do numbers. I'd estimate somewhere probably around about 400 to 500,000. I would really think that it could do those kind of numbers. Because they're both names, isn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they should have fought years ago, though, shouldn't they? Really, shouldn't they? But they've both gone round the houses. They've fought in wrong weight divisions, took wrong fights for the wrong reasons, and been punched about. And we're left with this probably being the biggest fight of the year. I think it's probably bigger than Joshua Usyk, isn't it? Really, Brook Khan, if they do fight. It's on the part, isn't it?
We've had some terrible pay-per-views over the years, like Bellew Hay. I mean, if Bellew and Hay can have two pay-per-views, then Brook and Khan, you know, whether you like it or not, you'd have to say would be deserving of it given their careers and what they've given to British boxing. But there's no sentiment in it for me. Like, I think years ago, you had a massive thing with Matthew Macklin online, didn't you? When he was saying that Crawler deserves a pay-per-view. And you're like, how can you deserve a pay-per-view? You earn it, sort of thing. Because he was, I can't remember what it was now, but I think it was to do with Lomachenko, weren't it? They were talking at.
Well, he wouldn't have been pay-per-view Crawler if Lomachenko wasn't on the card, would he? But Crawler's a nice kid. And maybe he paid his dues. I think Macklin maybe felt that Crawler paid his dues kind of thing. Because everybody wants to get to pay-per-view, don't they, eventually?
Yeah.
But there was no way you were going to win the fight. It was like night and day, wasn't it? You know, the levels, the levels. But do you feel that Kell Brook and Amir's punch resistance has gone?
Yeah, but probably Khan's more so. And I think just on that basis, Brook could knock him out within 3 rounds.
You think what?
I think Brook could stop him within 3 rounds.
You think they'll just come out swingers, pair of them?
I think probably try and box for a couple of rounds. Khan would get clipped. Khan would go down, fight fire with fire because he always has done. It's the only way he knows how. And yeah, I think Brook could get him out of there. But I bet you they'd probably fight around about 150 as well. Yeah. Because neither of them could even make 147 now.
What next do you see for Dillian Whyte, the can man?
Oh, God. He's on Skid Row, isn't he? He's on Skid Row.
He's like the ugly sister at the dance, isn't he, who nobody wants to dance with.
He's clinging on to anything he can, can't he? Like popping up into Tyson Fury's Instagrams and all that. And do you know what? I've never been Dillian Whyte's biggest fan. I think he's cherry-picked his whole career. I still don't like what happened with the reverse drug testing. Didn't sit right with me, everything that happened with that. But in terms of where he is now, what I would say is that a lot less deserving fighters have had title shots over the past 2 or 3 years than Dillian Whyte.
Yeah.
That's only through his own fault.
Yeah. Do you see Dillian Whyte ever rolling the dice and going and fighting like a Joe Joyce or a Ergovic or a Hughie Fury?
No.
You see him just picking off these D-class guys and waiting for Joshua still, or Fury, or Wilder, because he seems to have been waiting for them lot forever, doesn't he, them boys, doesn't he? And no, it seems to be ever happening with him. He says he's suing WBC. Well, why don't he put the papers on the Twitter? So, could just blank the address bit out and just put a screenshot of the papers. Dillian Whyte, if you're suing WBC, let's see paperwork on Twitter. All right. Because you're not suing WBC. You're not suing them at all. Stop telling whoppers. You're getting like Big John Fury.
He wants nothing to do with Joshua. He wants nothing to do with Joshua.
No, Dillian Whyte got offered. He says he hadn't ducked anybody. He was offered £5.5 million to fight Joshua at Wembley for the heavyweight championship of the world. Dillian at Wembley in a rematch, in a grudge match, but you knocked it back because at rematch clause, if you beat him, or beat him and renegotiate. That's what you do. I mean, let me just run that by you again, Dillian. You knock back 5 million plus to fight at Wembley for 4 world title heavyweight belts at Wembley in London, in your hometown. Don't get that. It's like the lottery ticket winner, isn't it, that sets fire to ticket. I don't get that. What do you see next for Joe Joyce, the juggernaut? Dale.
Tough one. Because again, I think he's another one that's going to be parked up for. I mean, they're talking like after he beat Takum, they were saying Joe Joyce is now the mandatory to the Joshua Usyk winner. Well, Joshua hasn't even fought his WBO mandatory yet, so Joe Joyce is mandatory to nothing at this moment in time. He's not going to be getting a title shot because he's not exactly, he's not going to be an easy sell. He won't ever fight for a world title unless something becomes vacant, in my opinion. Matchmaking is going to be tough for Joe Joyce as well because he's probably in the Who Needs Him club as well. Where would I like to see him next? Where would I like to see? I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Yoka, but I'm not so sure whether that could happen or not. I don't think that they'll be looking at a Dubois Joyce rematch anytime soon either.
No.
But I don't think both sides will benefit from that. So yeah, it's a tough one really with Joe Joyce. I think he's just in for a bit of a stagnant 2022. They might get him back out again in November, December time, but I don't think it's going to be in anything with any significance for a while now.
Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields, does it happen, or are they just paying lip service to us promoters?
Unless she goes over there and she rolls over and has her tummy tickled on the negotiation table, that fight will not happen.
Yeah. Yui Fury, Ergovic?
Well, Yui Fury will take the fight because he has proven throughout his career he'll fight anyone, anywhere. A proper can man. What is he, 25, 26 years old, Yui? And he's already fought.
27 next month.
So he's already fought Pulev in Bulgaria when Dillian Whyte knocked it back. He's fought Povetkin on home soil when Povetkin had just fought Joshua, hadn't he? Oh, that was before. Was it before he fought Joshua when he fought Povetkin?
After, I'm not sure. It might have been before, yeah.
And Povetkin had still got plenty in the tank at that point.
No, I think Povetkin fought Yui after Joshua had fought him. Yeah. And don't forget, Povetkin put Dillian Whyte to kip, didn't he?
Yeah, and he busted Joshua's nose as well, didn't he, in that fight? So he was still live enough at that point as well. Obviously, and fought Parker as well, which was a dodgy decision to say the least. So
what do you
think? He'll go in there and fight anyone.
Yeah, you what?
He's proved he'll go in there and fight anyone.
Yeah, Yui will, yeah. What do you see happening with Derek War Chisora, aka Del Boy, now that he's with Penfold? What do you see happening, Dale?
I'm coming around to the idea that he might actually fight high, like you're saying. I'm coming around to that idea. So,
could you imagine storyline for that? There'd be some intense beef, wouldn't there, and all that. There'd be that much intense beef running around. Everybody would be having bubble and squeak, wouldn't they, day after? Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine the intense beef on IFL? If David fights Chisora, that'd be painful, wouldn't it? Yeah. What do you think about Callum Johnson, do you think that he's become an afterthought to people like Boatsi and Lyndon Arthur? Do you think they just don't want to mention the guy's name, Callum Johnson's?
It's just a nightmare fight for any of them, isn't it, really? Because he's got the one thing that none of the others have got, and that's dynamite in both hands.
Yeah.
And a fighter that's got that, he's a dangerous fight for anyone. I think Yard Arthur's the fight that's going to happen anyway. So Callum, stay active, take good fights, and hopefully there'll be an opportunity to fight the winner of that rematch in the early part of next year. Because between the three of them that you've got there, I think you can take Boatty at the occasion. But with Arthur, with Yard, and with Callum Johnson, you can make some good fights there.
Yeah. What do you think to the situation with Dominic Ingle? Do you feel that he's now coming into his own as a trainer because Galahad's won a world title? Or do you think they just fought a shot fighter in Yazzie Dickens that made Galahad look good? There's two ways to look at it, I suppose, isn't there?
Good win, good performance from Kid Galahad, but go and unify. Go and unify. Go and beat another legit champion that's out there. Go and get a credible win on your record, and then you'll get the plaudits you deserve, because you're nobody's cup of tea. You're a busted drug cheat. So there's a lot for Kid Galahad to do to win the fans over, in my opinion. But credit where it's due, he did box well against Jazza last weekend, busted him up, or broke him up, as Nasser would like to say. But yeah.
What do you see happening with Warrington in his rematch in Leeds?
There's too many wars caught up with.
Well, he's been very carefully matched, hasn't he, Josh Warrington? Let's have it right. I mean, fair enough, he ran a good run, but very carefully matched. Come on. You know, I just think they got found out. I think they ran out of luck. They didn't do their own work. They got talked into fighting somebody who they couldn't even check up on YouTube. What sort of management are advising him? The people around him need to have a look at themselves and say, hang on a minute, what we done here? We put him in with somebody we didn't know anything about. Would you buy a car on phone and hand the money over before taking it for a test drive? You wouldn't do that, would you?
And if it was from you.
Hey?
And if you were selling it.
Only if I was, oh, go on, Dale, man after me. But no, I just feel that Josh Warrington, I think he's climbed mountain and he's on his way down now, and Galahad's timed it right. And I think there'll be that much screaming done if they do fight about the first fight and about he didn't get the decision, that the judges will be conscious, because it'll be a points job one, obviously against Galahad. But if he fights Warrington, I think there'll be that much scrutiny on the cards that I think they'll give it to Galahad. And then they'll probably look to do a trilogy. You know what Eddie Hills is like with trilogies, don't you?
Oh my God, repeat or revenge. That's his favourite as well, isn't it? But it's a funny one, isn't it, with the Warrington situation, because I think Warrington will get beat again, to be honest with you.
I do.
Like, this kid's going to come in full of confidence. We know Warrington's a feather duster man, so he ain't going to keep this guy off him. I think Warrington will get beat again, but let's just say that he does. Let's just say that for 1 minute he wins the fight.
Yeah.
Because for me, it takes a special fighter to come back from a knockout defeat to a fighter and go on and win. I'm taking Dillian Whyte out of that equation, because he fought a guy who was 40 plus, and he was straight out of the COVID ward. So I'm taking him out of that equation. But like I say, let's just say that Warrington does win the fight, and then he matches Galahad up. Without them rematching the same fight, Galahad's the champion. And I think that just says a lot about boxing in general, really, now, is that they'll have rematched within a 2-year period, not fought each other, but now the other guy's got the belt.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. all very weird, but exciting times ahead, Porker.
Yeah, all right, then I'll throw you a quick few questions at you then to finish off. Are the British Boxing Board of Control at this moment in time incompetent? Yes or no?
Yes.
The drug testing situation in the UK, is it what would you give it out of 10 for how it's all handled?
4.
4. Is Dave Allen hanging around boxing like a bad smell?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame to see Dave like that. Dave, come see me. Who's the most annoying out of these two, Tony Bellew or the Gad?
Oh, Tony Bellew.
A tiebreaker.
Tony Bellew.
Technical draw. Andy Patterson or Terry Chappendama? Dinner guest at your house.
Terry, because Andy's too anti-English.
Oh, Andy won't like that. They'd be a good guest. They'd be a good guest them at dinner because they could talk boxing all night, couldn't they?
Yeah.
All right. Martin Theobald sat next to you on an airplane and Steve Goodwin. Which one's pissed up?
It's going to be Steve Goodwin, isn't
Steve Goodwin on sauce.
he?
Muhammad Ali or Joshua. Who wins if they both fight each other?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm going to say Ali schools him. Are you going to say the same thing? Peak Ali versus peak Joshua.
Wouldn't go 5 rounds.
Yeah. Tyson Fury Wilder 3. Does it happen in October? Yes or no? Because there's not much promotion being pushed into it, is there?
It's not happening.
You know what I've noticed on analytics as well? You know, Fury's rating on YouTube now, he's gone from being popular and it's the turning again on him. Do you feel that it's overkill with all the antics that they do every day? I mean, his old man. You think that they just might be just overkilling the media thing, trying to play media game? And do you think people have more or less sussed him out now?
Yeah, I think he peaked a little bit, didn't he, last year, obviously, when he beat Wilder. And the way that he beat him, and there was a big bandwagon behind him, weren't there? Big surge.
Kicked on though, has he, from that?
But I think that because people are the people who've sort of all of a sudden become Tyson Fury fans, I've always said, you're not a Tyson Fury fan, you're not a Joshua fan. You know, you sort of, you're just anti-Joshua rather than pro-Fury. That's sort of how you get into bed with being a Tyson Fury fan. But I think that it sort of peaked last year, his popularity. You know, he did a bit of reality TV. Paris was on, Luke's Women and what have you. So they sort of peaked. But I think that the way that the Joshua fights fell apart, all these fans have sort of been left with the dick in their hands and they've got no excuse for it because it is all Team Fury's fault. Yeah. And everyone's just sick of it now. Everyone's sick of it and everyone can see the lies and the deceit that's there. They've led them all along. They've led the fans all along and they've let us all down. Let us all
down. Mickey Theo versus John Fury. Does it happen?
What day is this going out?
Don't send out about what I told you earlier.
No. This is what I mean.
This is going out. I'm going to put this out today, 11:30.
Okay, so what I've been privy to that's going to blow the channel off the scale within the next 48 hours tells me, yeah, this fight's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Okay, then. It'll be next week. Something's going to be going on my channel next week. I'm just going to give them all a little teaser, so they need to be ready for this next week. Okay. Eddie Hearn, does he get out of boxing in the next 2 years and do something else like music, concert production? No, do you think he'll always be in boxing?
He loves the glitz and glamour of it too much, the fame, and he loves the control element of it now that he's got as well. He's going nowhere.
Yeah. Porky Russ from Porky's Corner. Has he always got an ace up his sleeve?
Always.
All right then, Dale. Well, you've been a great guest. Thank you for coming on. I hope you have a good Sunday. How's your lasses? Is she all right?
Yeah. We're just doing our final preparations now, and then exciting times ahead, as you know. So yeah, looking forward to it, and just a chill out Sunday now for me.
Good man. Okay then. Well, listen, you take care and have a great Sunday, and go give your dog some chewy sticks or something. It sounds violent.
Yeah, I think he's saying, yeah, go and take me a walk, So I'm going to take him over the field now, get his ball, give him a run over the field. But yeah, shout out as well, everyone who wants to follow me on Twitter at Dale the Great X.
At Dale the Great X. I believe you've got a YouTube channel that you do, aren't you, Dale?
Yeah, every Sunday, football, sport, well, mainly football, yeah, a sport podcast called Centre Circle Podcast. So yeah, give us a shout out on that. Centre Circle Podcast.
How do you spell that?
Centre.
Oh,
Centre
Circle. Oh, yeah, Centre.
Yeah.
Centre Circle. I can't understand your accent. Centre Circle Podcast YouTube, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's at Dale the Great and then X, right, on your Twitter. All right. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Don't forget to share the video on your WhatsApp with all your pals. And don't forget to join our members area as well. 10 videos extra per month, £5.99. 10 videos extra. For now, innit? It's less than 60p a video. Sound like Eddie Hills, don't I? All right. Peace out, Dale. Cheers. Bye.